Welcome, weary wanderer, to a journey through the countless mysteries that drift like morning mist across the islands of Animal Crossing. Tonight, we'll explore every enigma, every unanswered question, every strange occurrence that has puzzled villagers and players alike across generations of island life. From the ancient secrets buried beneath museum foundations to the cosmic forces that govern turnip prices, these are stories of wonder hidden in the most peaceful of worlds. So settle into your favorite chair, close your eyes when you're ready, and let us unravel together the beautiful mysteries of Island Paradise. In the gentle realm of Animal Crossing, where days unfold like pages in a beloved storybook and seasons change with the patient rhythm of nature's heartbeat, there exists a curious phenomenon that few have truly contemplated in all its mysterious implications. Time itself behaves differently on these islands, flowing not with the rigid precision of clocks and calendars, but with something far more organic and dreamlike, as if each island exists within its own temporal bubble, where the normal rules of reality bend and shift according to forces we can barely comprehend. The mystery begins with the simplest observation. How is it that on every island across this vast archipelago of dreams, the sun rises and sets at precisely the same moment? The seasons change with identical timing, and the cosmic events unfold in perfect synchronization, despite the fact that these islands should, by all laws of geography and astronomy, exist in different time zones entirely. The answer lies not in conventional science, but in something far more profound and beautiful. These islands exist in what scholars of the mysterious might call temporal harmony, a state where time becomes less a river flowing in one direction and more like a vast, still lake that reflects the consciousness of those who dwell upon its shores. The clocks that tick in every island home are not measuring time but creating it, their gentle rhythm establishing the heartbeat of a reality that shapes itself around the needs and dreams of its inhabitants. But perhaps no mystery is more intriguing than the enigmatic figure who presides over this entire realm of wonder. Tom Nook, the raccoon whose influence extends far beyond what any casual observer might imagine. Behind his humble facade of a simple shopkeeper lies an empire of such scope and complexity that it challenges our very understanding of how island economies function and who truly controls the delicate balance of this peaceful world. Tom Nook's origins remain shrouded in the kind of mystery that befits a figure of such cosmic importance to island life. Those few fragments of his past that have emerged paint the picture of a young raccoon whose dreams extended far beyond the simple life of his woodland origins. He speaks occasionally of a time when he worked in the great city, learning the ways of business and commerce among creatures whose ambitions were measured not in the gentle satisfaction of helping neighbors, but in the cold accumulation of wealth and power. Yet something fundamental changed in Tom Nook during those formative years away from island life, a transformation so complete that it shaped not only his own destiny, but the very nature of how islands would be developed and inhabited for generations to come. The Tom Nook who returned from the city was no longer the simple woodland creature who had departed, but neither had he become the ruthless capitalist that urban life might have created. Instead, he had evolved into something unprecedented. A businessman whose true currency was not money, but happiness, whose profit margins were measured not in bells, but in the contentment of island residents. The scope of Tom Nook's empire becomes apparent to anyone who takes the time to truly observe how island life functions. Every shop that opens, every service that becomes available, every infrastructure development that transforms a deserted island into a thriving community can ultimately be traced back to his influence and planning. Yet this is no cold corporate empire built on exploitation and dominance, but rather an intricate web of relationships and mutual support that somehow manages to generate prosperity for everyone involved. Consider the mystery of Nook's Cranny, that humble shop that serves as the commercial heart of every island community. The building itself appears overnight, as if materialized from some dimension where architectural dreams become instant reality. The inventory that stocks its shelves arrives without visible supply chains, appearing with the same mysterious efficiency that characterizes all aspects of island commerce. Who manufactures the fishing rods that appear precisely when they are needed? Where do the flower seeds originate that will bloom into perfect gardens? What factories produce the furniture that somehow matches every possible aesthetic preference while maintaining the same reasonable prices across all islands? The answer lies not in conventional economics, but in understanding Tom Nook's true role as something approaching a benevolent deity of island development. His empire operates on principles that transcend normal business practices, functioning more like a manifestation of pure creative will than a traditional commercial enterprise. When an island resident expresses a need or desire, the mechanisms of Nook's influence somehow ensure that the solution appears, whether through the shop inventory, a special order catalogue that seems to connect to infinite warehouses, or the timely arrival of a traveling merchant with exactly the right item. Even more mysterious is the question of Tom Nook's relationship with Timmy and Tommy, the two young Tanuki who serve as both his employees and, in some deeper sense, his adopted family. The exact nature of their connection remains deliberately obscured, spoken of only in the most general terms that hint at bonds deeper than mere business relationships. Tom Nook refers to them with the gentle affection of a guardian, while Timmy and Tommy demonstrate a loyalty and dedication that goes far beyond what any employer could reasonably expect. Some whispered theories suggest that Timmy and Tommy represent aspects of Tom Nook's own younger self, manifestations of the dreams and ambitions that once drove him to leave his island home for the wider world. Others propose that they are literally his nephews, taken under his protective wing after some family tragedy that Tom Nook is too private to discuss. The truth likely lies somewhere between these interpretations, in a relationship that encompasses elements of family, mentorship, and shared purpose in ways that defy simple categorization. The mystery deepens when one considers how these two young Tanuki have developed such sophisticated business acumen despite their apparent youth and enthusiastic demeanor. Their ability to manage complex inventory systems, handle customer service with unfailing politeness, and maintain the intricate logistics that keep island commerce flowing smoothly suggests training and experience that goes far beyond their apparent age. Yet they approach their work with genuine joy and excitement, as if every transaction is a delightful game rather than a tedious obligation. Perhaps most intriguing is their habit of speaking in unison, finishing each other's sentences with a synchronicity that suggests either remarkable training or some deeper connection that operates on levels beyond normal communication. This speech pattern, which might seem merely cute or quirky in isolation, takes on greater significance when viewed as part of the larger mystery of how information flows throughout the Animal Crossing world. The economic principles that govern island life represent another layer of mystery that challenges conventional understanding. The Bell system that serves as universal currency operates according to rules that seem to prioritize accessibility and fairness over traditional economic constraints. Prices remain remarkably stable across different islands and time periods, suggesting either careful regulation by some unseen authority or natural economic forces that somehow achieve perfect balance without external intervention. The mystery deepens when one examines how wealth is generated and distributed throughout island communities. Traditional sources of income like fishing, bug catching, and fruit harvesting provide returns that seem calculated to ensure comfortable living for anyone willing to engage in these peaceful activities, regardless of their skill level or time investment. Even the most casual participant in island economic life can afford housing, clothing, and all the necessities of comfortable living through activities that are more like gentle hobbies than demanding labor. This economic model appears to violate fundamental principles of scarcity and competition that drive most real-world economic systems. Resources are abundant enough to satisfy everyone's needs. Prices are fair enough to remain accessible to all residents, and new sources of wealth regularly appear through events and discoveries that seem too convenient to be entirely natural. The turnip market alone represents an economic phenomenon that would be impossible to sustain in any conventional system, with price fluctuations that somehow always ensure opportunities for profit regardless of market timing. The role of Daisy May in this mysterious economic ecosystem deserves particular attention. This young boar's weekly visits to sell turnips represent more than simple agricultural commerce. They are part of a complex system that seems designed to teach island residents about investment, patience, and the gentle rhythms of economic participation. Her prices follow patterns that appear random but somehow always provide opportunities for those who pay attention and participate regularly. The deeper mystery lies in understanding how this turnip market connects to larger economic forces that govern island life. The prices that fluctuate throughout the week are influenced by factors that seem to extend beyond simple supply and demand, responding to cosmic rhythms, seasonal changes, and even the collective mood and activity of island communities. It is as if the very universe conspires to ensure that participation in island economic life remains rewarding and sustainable for all residents. Tom Nook's famous speech pattern, his repeated use of phrases like yes, yes, and his tendency to end statements with gentle confirmations reveals itself to be more than mere verbal habit when examined in the context of his mysterious empire. These linguistic patterns serve multiple functions. They create a sense of warmth and accessibility that puts customers at ease. They establish rhythm and predictability in business interactions. And most mysteriously, they seem to function as a form of subtle hypnosis that helps island residents feel comfortable with economic transactions that might otherwise seem too good to be true. The mystery of how residents are selected for island development reveals another layer of Tom Nook's enigmatic influence. The process by which individuals are chosen to begin new island lives appears to operate according to criteria that go far beyond simple financial qualification or random selection. Those who find themselves invited to develop new islands often report feeling as if they were somehow destined for this opportunity, as if forces beyond their understanding had been guiding them toward this moment of transformation. The island selection process itself defies logical explanation. How does Tom Nook identify suitable locations for development? What criteria determine whether a particular piece of land will support the complex ecosystem of an Animal Crossing community? The islands that become available for development all share certain mysterious properties. They are isolated enough to maintain their unique temporal characteristics. They possess the natural resources necessary to support diverse communities, and they seem to exist in a state of potential that allows for infinite customization according to resident preferences. Even more mysterious is the question of what happens to islands when their development phase concludes and residents move on to new adventures. These communities that were built with such care and attention to detail do not simply cease to exist. Rather, they seem to enter a state of suspended animation, preserved in some dimension where they wait for possible future visitation or perhaps serve purposes that our limited understanding cannot comprehend. The infrastructure that supports Tom Nook's empire operates with an efficiency that borders on the supernatural, communication networks that allow instant coordination between islands, supply chains that deliver goods without visible transportation, and service systems that anticipate needs before they are expressed, all suggest organizational capabilities that extend far beyond what any conventional business empire could achieve. The mystery extends to understanding how Tom Nook maintains such detailed knowledge of island development needs across what must be hundreds or thousands of communities. His ability to provide personalized guidance to new residents, recommend appropriate upgrades at precisely the right moments, and coordinate the complex logistics of island infrastructure development suggests either superhuman organizational abilities or access to information networks that operate according to principles we do not understand. As we contemplate these mysteries surrounding Tom Nook's empire and its role in the cosmic calendar of island life, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more profound than simple business success. This is a system that has somehow achieved the impossible, an economic model based on abundance rather than scarcity, cooperation rather than competition, and genuine care for individual happiness rather than mere profit maximization. The true mystery lies not in understanding the mechanics of how Tom Nook's empire functions, but in comprehending the vision and wisdom that created such a system in the first place. Somewhere in his past, this remarkable raccoon discovered principles of organization and relationship that allowed him to build something unprecedented, a commercial empire that serves not its own growth, but the happiness and fulfillment of every individual it touches. Deep within the heart of every island community stands a structure that represents far more than mere architectural achievement or educational institution. The museum, with its soaring ceilings and carefully curated galleries, serves as both repository of ancient knowledge and gateway to mysteries that stretch back through geological ages so vast that mortal minds struggle to comprehend their true scope. Yet beneath its peaceful facade of scholarly pursuit and quiet contemplation lie secrets that challenge our very understanding of how these islands came to exist and what forces shaped their impossible natural history. The mystery begins with the figure who presides over this temple of learning, the scholarly owl known as Blathers, whose dedication to knowledge and almost supernatural expertise in matters of natural history suggests a lineage and training that extends far beyond what any conventional educational background could provide. His encyclopedic knowledge of fossils, fish, insects, and artifacts speaks not merely of academic study, but of some deeper connection to the ancient forces that shape the world he so carefully documents and preserves. Blathers speaks of his calling with the passion of someone who views his work not as employment but as sacred duty, a responsibility that has been passed down through generations of his family like a hereditary obligation, to serve as guardian of mysteries too profound for casual understanding. His nocturnal nature, far from being simply an owl's natural adaptation, seems to connect him to the hidden aspects of island life that only reveal themselves in the quiet hours when most residents sleep peacefully in their homes. The owl's extensive knowledge of natural history encompasses not only the identification and classification of specimens, but also their stories, their relationships to the broader ecosystem, and most mysteriously, their connections to ancient civilizations and geological processes that should not logically exist on islands that appear to have been formed through entirely different mechanisms. When Blathers examines a fossil and speaks of the creature that left it behind, he does so with the certainty of someone who has access to historical records that extend back millions of years. Consider the profound mystery of how fossils come to exist on these islands in the first place. The specimens that residents uncover through their patient excavation efforts represent creatures from every major geological era, from the earliest trilobites to the great dinosaurs that dominated the Mesozoic period, to the massive mammals of more recent evolutionary history. Yet these islands, based on their geographical characteristics and ecological systems, could not possibly have existed long enough or under the right conditions to accumulate such a comprehensive fossil record. The distribution of fossils across island territory follows patterns that defy conventional paleontological understanding. A resident might discover a Tyrannosaurus rex skull in their backyard garden, then walk a few hundred meters to find trilobite fragments that represent organisms separated by hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary history. These discoveries appear in layers of soil that show no evidence of the complex geological stratification that would be necessary to preserve such specimens in their proper chronological sequence. Even more mysterious is the perfect preservation state of these fossils, which emerge from the ground as complete, museum-quality specimens, rather than the fragmentary remains that characterize most real-world paleontological discoveries. The fossilization process that created these specimens must have operated according to principles that ensure not only perfect preservation, but also convenient accessibility for amateur excavation efforts by island residents equipped with nothing more than simple shovels. Blather's sister Celeste represents another layer of mystery in the scholarly lineage that oversees island intellectual life. Her expertise in astronomy and her uncanny ability to predict celestial events suggests access to knowledge systems that extend far beyond conventional star charts and astronomical calculations. When Celeste appears on an island to share her wisdom about meteor showers and constellation patterns, she does so with the confidence of someone who understands cosmic rhythms on a level that transcends mere academic study. The meteor showers that Celeste predicts with such remarkable accuracy represent phenomena that should not occur with the frequency and predictability that characterizes island life. These celestial events, which in the wider world happen rarely and according to complex orbital mechanics, appear on islands with a regularity that suggests they are being deliberately orchestrated rather than following natural cosmic patterns. The shooting stars that streak across island skies carry within their brief brilliance wishes and dreams that somehow manifest as tangible rewards for those who take the time to observe and appreciate their beauty. The star fragments that fall during these meteor showers present their own set of mysteries. These crystalline objects, which appear on beaches and open ground the morning after celestial events, possess properties that allow them to be crafted into furniture and decorative items that seem to hold within their structure the actual essence of starlight. The transformation of cosmic debris into beautiful and functional objects represents a form of alchemy that operates according to principles that conventional science cannot explain. Celeste's knowledge of constellation patterns reveals another layer of mystery in the astronomical systems that govern island life. The stars that shine above these isolated communities form patterns that should vary significantly based on geographical location and time of year, yet every island resident can observe identical constellations from their particular vantage point. This suggests that the islands exist within some form of cosmic bubble, where astronomical phenomena are standardized across all locations, creating shared experiences of celestial beauty that unite communities separated by vast distances. The artifacts that residents discover through their patient archaeological efforts present perhaps the most intriguing mystery of all. These objects, which Blathers can identify and authenticate with remarkable precision, represent civilizations and cultures that span the entire breadth of human history and beyond. Egyptian sarcophagi rest alongside Mayan calendars and ancient Greek sculptures, while mysterious objects that appear to predate known civilization entirely surface with the same frequency as more recognizable historical pieces. The mystery deepens when one considers how these artifacts came to be buried on islands that show no other evidence of supporting the civilizations that created them. The soil layers that preserve these precious objects contain no other archaeological evidence of human habitation, no pottery sherds, or tool fragments, or structural remains that would normally accompany significant artifact deposits. It is as if these objects were placed deliberately in their underground hiding spots, waiting for the right moment and the right individuals to discover them. Red's involvement in the artifact trade introduces an additional layer of complexity to these mysteries. This cunning fox's ability to distinguish between authentic artifacts and skillfully crafted forgeries suggests not only expertise in art history and archaeological authentication, but also access to supply networks that can provide both genuine historical pieces and reproductions of such, quality that they require expert examination to distinguish from the originals. The very existence of such elaborate forgeries raises questions about who would invest the time and resources necessary to create such perfect replicas. The forged artifacts that Red occasionally offers reveal craftsmanship skills that rival or exceed those of the original creators. These reproductions are not crude copies designed to fool the casual observer, but masterworks in their own right, created with techniques and attention to detail that suggests the forgers possessed the same skills and cultural knowledge as the ancient artisans they were emulating. In some cases, the forgeries demonstrate techniques and materials that were not available to the original civilization, creating paradoxes that challenge our understanding of both historical and contemporary craftsmanship. The authentication process that Blathers employs to distinguish genuine artifacts from forgeries operates according to criteria that seem to transcend normal scholarly analysis. His ability to identify fakes with absolute certainty, often after only brief examination, suggests access to knowledge systems that provide definitive information about the provenance and history of every object that passes through his museum. This implies the existence of comprehensive databases or historical records that track the movement and authenticity of artifacts across time and space. The museum itself, as a physical structure, presents architectural mysteries that become apparent only through careful observation of its impossible spatial relationships. The building that houses this vast collection of specimens and artifacts appears from the outside to be substantial but not unusually large, yet its interior galleries seem to possess dimensions that exceed what the external structure should logically contain. Visitors can wander through extensive displays without ever reaching boundaries that correspond to the building's apparent outer walls. The climate control systems that preserve the museum's delicate specimens operate with a perfection that goes beyond conventional environmental management. Temperature and humidity remain constant throughout all seasons and weather conditions, while lighting provides perfect visibility without causing the photodegradation that would normally affect sensitive organic materials. The preservation of specimens occurs according to standards that ensure indefinite stability, as if time itself has been suspended within the museum's walls. The organizational system that governs the museum's collections follows principles that blend scientific classification with aesthetic arrangement in ways that create both educational value and emotional impact. Related specimens are grouped together not only according to taxonomic relationships, but also according to narrative themes that tell the story of evolutionary history, geological development, and cultural evolution in ways that make complex scientific concepts accessible to visitors of all ages and educational backgrounds. The mysterious appearance of new specimens follows patterns that suggest coordination between the museum's needs and the discovery activities of island residents. When the museum lacks representation from particular taxonomic groups or historical periods, residents invariably begin finding exactly those types of specimens that would fill the gaps in the collection. This coordination occurs without any visible communication or direction from museum staff, as if the island ecosystem itself conspires to ensure comprehensive representation in the scholarly collections. The educational programs that the museum provides through Blather's enthusiastic presentations represent another mystery in the dissemination of knowledge that extends far beyond what any individual scholar could reasonably possess. His detailed explanations of specimen characteristics, behavioral patterns, evolutionary relationships, and historical significance demonstrate familiarity with research findings and theoretical developments that would require access to vast libraries and ongoing communication with specialist researchers around the world. The museum's role in fostering community engagement with natural history and cultural preservation creates connections between residents and the larger patterns of existence that govern their island home. Through their participation in fossil hunting, bug collecting, fish catching, and artifact discovery, residents become active participants in documenting and preserving the mysterious history that underlies their peaceful daily lives. This participation transforms what might otherwise be casual hobbies into meaningful contributions to scholarly understanding and community knowledge. The seasonal changes that affect specimen availability follow astronomical and meteorological patterns that demonstrate the deep connections between celestial rhythms and terrestrial life cycles. Fish appear and disappear according to schedules that reflect not only natural spawning and migration patterns, but also lunar phases, seasonal festivals, and cosmic events that suggest coordination between biological systems and forces that transcend normal ecological relationships. Similarly, insect populations fluctuate according to patterns that blend natural life cycles with mystical timing that seems designed to ensure year-round opportunities for discovery and collection. The museum's archives, though never fully visible to casual visitors, clearly contain records and reference materials that extend far beyond what any single institution should logically possess. Blather's ability to provide detailed historical context for every specimen and artifact suggests access to libraries and databases that contain comprehensive documentation of natural history, cultural development, and archaeological discovery, spanning the entire breadth of known existence and extending into realms that conventional scholarship has yet to explore. As we contemplate these profound mysteries surrounding the museum and its role in island life, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more significant than simple educational institution or specimen repository. The museum serves as a bridge between the peaceful present of island life and the vast, mysterious history that underlies the very existence of these remarkable communities, connecting residents to forces and stories that span the entire breadth of cosmic development and terrestrial evolution in ways that transform simple collecting activities into profound spiritual and intellectual adventures. Among the most enigmatic inhabitants of island communities are those beings whose very existence challenges our understanding of the natural world and the boundaries between the living and the ethereal. These supernatural villagers move through island life with the same gentle routines as their more conventional neighbors, yet they carry within themselves mysteries that connect to forces far older and more profound than the peaceful daily rhythms that characterize most island existence. The mystery begins with Wisp, that gentle ghost whose translucent form drifts through island nights like a manifestation of loneliness itself, yet whose presence brings not fear, but a peculiar kind of comfort to those who encounter him in the quiet hours when most residents rest peacefully in their homes. His very existence raises fundamental questions about the nature of life and death in a realm where such distinctions seem to blur into something altogether more fluid and mysterious. Wisp's form suggests a being caught between dimensions, neither fully present in the material world nor entirely absent from it. His ethereal substance responds to moonlight in ways that reveal depths and textures invisible during daylight hours, while his voice carries echoes that seem to come from distances measured not in space but in time itself. When he speaks of his fear of the dark, he does so with the irony of someone who has become darkness, yet somehow retained the innocent vulnerabilities that characterized his living existence. The spirit pieces that scatter when Wisp is startled represent more than simple fragments of his ghostly essence. They are manifestations of memories, experiences, and connections that bind him to the material world, despite his ethereal nature. The patient work required to gather these scattered pieces and restore his coherence becomes an act of compassion that bridges the gap between the living and the dead, creating bonds of friendship that transcend the normal boundaries of existence. The rewards that Wisp offers in gratitude for this assistance reveal his connection to networks of exchange and relationship that operate according to principles entirely different from conventional commerce. His ability to provide either expensive items or the removal of unwanted possessions suggests access to dimensional spaces where the normal rules of scarcity and ownership hold no meaning, where value is determined not by market forces, but by genuine need and emotional significance. The mystery deepens when one considers how Wisp came to exist in his current state and what forces sustain his presence in island communities. His gentle nature and childlike vulnerabilities suggest a spirit who died in innocence rather than malice, yet his continued existence implies unfinished business or unfulfilled purposes that keep him tethered to the world of the living. The compassionate acceptance he receives from island residents indicates a community understanding that extends beyond conventional religious or spiritual frameworks. The dreams that villagers experience during their nightly rest periods present another layer of supernatural mystery that permeates island existence. These nocturnal visions, which villagers occasionally share through casual conversation, reveal a shared unconscious realm where the boundaries between individual minds dissolve into collective experiences that span entire communities and sometimes extend across different islands entirely. The content of these dreams often includes elements that villagers should have no way of knowing through their normal waking experiences. References to places they have never visited, knowledge of events that occurred before their arrival on the island, and most mysteriously, shared dream narratives that multiple villagers experience simultaneously, despite sleeping in separate homes with no physical communication between them during the dream state. Some villagers report dreams of flying over landscapes that combine familiar island features with impossible geographical formations that could exist only in realms where physical laws bend according to the logic of the subconscious mind. Others describe underwater adventures that allow them to breathe freely while exploring ocean depths that contain architectural wonders built by civilizations whose existence is hinted at only in these nocturnal visions. The most intriguing dreams are those that seem to provide glimpses of other islands and other communities, creating a form of astral tourism that allows villagers to experience life in distant locations without ever leaving their own homes. These dream journeys often include detailed observations of architecture, landscape features, and community activities that prove to be remarkably accurate when compared to reports from travelers who have actually visited these distant locations. The question of villager memory presents one of the most perplexing mysteries in understanding the supernatural aspects of island life. Some villagers arrive with clear recollections of previous communities they have inhabited, complete with detailed memories of friends they have made, experiences they have enjoyed, and places they have lived. These villagers can provide elaborate descriptions of other islands, recount specific events from their past lives, and even maintain correspondence with friends in distant communities. Yet other villagers appear to have no memory of any existence prior to their arrival on their current island, approaching their new home with the fresh curiosity of beings experiencing community life for the first time. These villagers display no nostalgia for previous homes, no references to past relationships, and no knowledge of customs or traditions that they should have learned during prior community experiences. The most mysterious cases are those villagers who seem to possess partial memories that shift and change over time, as if their past experiences exist in a state of quantum uncertainty where multiple histories remain simultaneously possible until specific questions or circumstances force particular memories to crystallize into definite form. These villagers might mention a previous home one day, then seem to have no knowledge of that place when asked about it on another occasion. Even more puzzling are those villagers who make references to things, places, or concepts that should not exist within the context of island life as most residents understand it. They speak casually of technologies, institutions, or cultural phenomena that have no apparent analogue in their peaceful island communities, suggesting either access to information sources that remain hidden from most residents or memories of existences that transcend the boundaries of conventional island life entirely. The biological impossibilities represented by the diverse species that make up island communities create another layer of supernatural mystery that challenges our understanding of how these beings came to exist and function together in apparent harmony. The evolutionary relationships between villagers suggest natural histories that could not possibly have developed on the isolated islands where they now live, implying origins in distant ecosystems or entirely different dimensions of biological development. Consider the profound mystery of how creatures as different as elephants and mice, eagles and frogs, lions and sheep have all evolved the same basic body proportions, the same capacity for complex language and abstract thought, and the same fundamental approaches to community life and social interaction. The convergent evolution that would be necessary to produce such similarities across radically different species lines represents biological processes that conventional science would consider impossible. The dietary habits of predator and prey species living together in perfect harmony present another biological impossibility that somehow functions flawlessly in island communities. Wolves share meals with sheep, cats befriend mice, and hawks socialize peacefully with the small birds that would normally constitute their primary food source. This transformation of natural predator-prey relationships suggests either fundamental changes in biological programming or the influence of supernatural forces that override instinctual behaviors. The clothing and fashion choices that allow creatures of vastly different body types to wear identical garments reveal design principles that transcend normal tailoring limitations. A shirt that fits perfectly on a bear will adjust automatically to accommodate the very different proportions of a bird or a fish, suggesting either magical properties in the clothing itself or alterations in the physical forms of the wearers that allow for such universal compatibility. Pascal, the philosophical sea otter whose wisdom emerges from the depths of both ocean and consciousness, represents perhaps the most enigmatic of all the supernatural presences that drift through island life. His appearances during diving expeditions seem to be coordinated not by chance encounters, but by moments when individuals are ready to receive the particular insights he offers, suggesting awareness of internal states and spiritual needs that extends far beyond normal social observation. The scallops that Pascal seeks during his underwater journeys serve purposes that extend beyond simple nourishment, functioning as focal points for meditation and contemplation that connect him to wisdom traditions spanning cultures and centuries. His willingness to trade these precious shells for DIY recipes and crafting materials indicates an understanding of value that prioritizes creative expression and community contribution over personal accumulation or conventional treasure hoarding. The philosophical insights that Pascal shares reveal familiarity with wisdom traditions from around the world, suggesting either extensive travel and study that would be impossible for a sea otter living in island waters, or access to knowledge networks that transcend normal educational channels. His observations about life, relationships, and the nature of existence demonstrate understanding that combines practical experience with theoretical sophistication in ways that bridge the gap between folk wisdom and academic philosophy. The timing of Pascal's appearances correlates with moments of personal growth and discovery in the lives of those who encounter him, as if he possesses intuitive understanding of when individuals are ready to receive particular types of guidance or inspiration. This synchronicity suggests either remarkable empathy and social awareness, or connection to information networks that provide insights into the emotional and spiritual states of island community members. The personality types that characterize different villages reveal systematic patterns that suggest underlying cosmic or psychological forces rather than random individual variation. The cheerful enthusiasm of peppy villagers, the gentle wisdom of normal types, the protective concern of big sister personalities, and the scholarly focus of smug characters represent archetypal energies that manifest consistently across different species and communities. These personality patterns remain remarkably stable across different contexts and relationships, as if each villager carries within themselves a fundamental essence that shapes their approach to all aspects of life and social interaction. Yet within these consistent patterns, each individual expresses their personality type in ways that reflect their unique experiences, interests, and relationships, creating diversity within structure that suggests both cosmic order and individual freedom. The compatibility between different personality types follows patterns that mirror ancient wisdom about complementary energies and balanced relationships, with certain combinations naturally creating harmony, while others generate creative tension that promotes growth and development. These relationship dynamics operate with a consistency that suggests either deliberate design or natural laws that govern social interaction at levels deeper than conscious awareness. The mysterious attractions that draw certain villagers to specific islands cannot be explained through conventional factors like climate preferences, available amenities, or community characteristics. Instead, these connections seem to operate according to spiritual affinities and karmic relationships that transcend rational decision-making processes, as if the universe itself conspires to bring together communities that will support each other's growth and happiness. Some villagers arrive on islands with an immediate sense of belonging that suggests they were always meant to live in that particular community, while others require time to develop the connections and relationships that will eventually make their new home feel like their destined place of residence. The timing of these arrivals often coincides with moments when the existing community is ready to welcome new perspectives and energies, creating synchronicities that benefit both newcomers and established residents. The departure patterns of villagers who eventually choose to seek new adventures reveal similar mysterious timing, with individuals leaving just as their communities are ready to welcome different types of personalities and energies. These transitions occur with a natural rhythm that maintains community balance while allowing for growth and change, suggesting coordination by forces that understand the deeper needs of both individuals and communities. As we contemplate these profound mysteries surrounding the supernatural villagers who share our island homes, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more significant than simply diverse communities of anthropomorphic animals. These beings represent archetypal energies and spiritual forces that manifest in physical form to create learning experiences and relationship opportunities that support the growth and development of all community members, connecting us to wisdom, traditions, and cosmic patterns that span the entire breadth of conscious existence. The fabric of island commerce reveals itself through mysterious networks of trade and craftsmanship that stretch far beyond the simple storefronts and market stalls visible to casual observation. Within these commercial mysteries lie stories of family tragedy, artistic transformation, and the strange economics of beauty that govern how clothing and fashion create meaning and identity in communities where such concepts take on dimensions that transcend mere vanity or practical necessity. At the heart of these commercial enigmas stands the story of the Able sisters, whose boutique represents far more than a simple clothing shop, but rather serves as a monument to resilience, creativity, and the power of art to heal wounds that conventional medicine cannot touch. The tragedy that shaped their family history echoes through every carefully arranged display and every lovingly crafted garment, creating layers of meaning that transform shopping into an act of participation in their ongoing story of survival and success. Mabel, the gentle hedgehog whose quiet dedication to customer service masks depths of strength forged in the crucible of early loss, carries within her memories of a childhood shattered by the sudden death of their parents. This tragedy, which could have destroyed the family entirely, instead became the foundation for a bond between sisters that transcended normal sibling relationships to create a partnership based on mutual support, shared purpose, and unwavering commitment to preserving the artistic legacy that their parents had begun. The sewing machine that hums quietly in the corner of their shop connects to traditions of craftsmanship that extend back through generations of their family, each stitch representing not merely functional construction but artistic expression that carries forward techniques and aesthetic sensibilities passed down through bloodlines that have dedicated themselves to the creation of beauty through fabric and design. The patterns that emerge from Mabel's careful work reveal influences from cultures and traditions that span the entire breadth of textile history. Sable, whose dedication to her work borders on obsession, represents the sister who absorbed the full weight of family responsibility when tragedy struck their household. Her position at the sewing machine, where she works tirelessly to create the patterns and garments that stock their boutique, reflects both practical necessity and emotional coping mechanism, as if the rhythm of her needle and the focus required by intricate craft work provides sanctuary from memories too painful to confront directly. The gradual warming of Sable's personality as relationships with regular customers develop over time reveals healing processes that operate according to emotional rather than temporal rhythms. Her initial shyness and focus on work give way slowly to conversations that expose the artistic passion and gentle humor that tragedy had buried but not destroyed. These transformations occur through the simple magic of consistent kindness and patient attention, proving that commerce can become a form of therapy when conducted with genuine care and understanding. The patterns that Sable creates through her dedicated work possess qualities that transcend mere aesthetic appeal, incorporating design elements that seem to carry protective and nurturing energies within their visual structures. Customers who wear garments crafted from these patterns report feeling more confident, more creative, and more connected to their communities, as if the love and skill invested in their creation continues to radiate benefits long after the original crafting process has concluded. The transformation of Label from her original identity as Labelle represents one of the most profound mysteries in the evolution of island fashion culture. Her journey from small-town boutique assistant to internationally recognized fashion designer challenges conventional narratives about artistic success and raises questions about what forces enable such dramatic personal and professional metamorphosis. The fashion empire that Label built during her time away from island life operated according to principles that somehow maintained connection to the values and aesthetic sensibilities she learned during her childhood apprenticeship with her sisters. Her high fashion creations, despite their sophistication and urban appeal, carried within their designs elements of the simple beauty and practical functionality that characterized the clothing sold in the Able Sisters boutique. The decision that brought Label back to island communities as a traveling fashion consultant represents more than simple career evolution. It reflects recognition that true artistic fulfillment requires connection to the roots and relationships that originally inspired creative expression. Her periodic visits to various islands create opportunities for residents to experience fashion as art form rather than mere utility, while simultaneously allowing her to maintain the family bonds that gave meaning to her artistic achievements. The fashion challenges that Label presents to island residents operate according to educational principles that transform clothing choices into exercises in creative expression and cultural understanding. These challenges require participants to explore themes and aesthetic concepts that expand their awareness of how clothing communicates meaning, creates identity, and connects individuals to larger cultural movements and artistic traditions. The rewards that Label provides for successful completion of her fashion challenges represent more than simple prizes. They are artistic treasures that carry within their designs elements of the sophisticated techniques and aesthetic insights she developed during her metropolitan career. These garments serve as bridges between island simplicity and international sophistication, allowing residents to experience high fashion while maintaining connection to their peaceful community values. The mystery of clothing patterns that exist across dimensions reveals itself through the custom design system that allows residents to create and share artistic expressions that transcend normal boundaries of space and time. These patterns, once created on a single island, somehow become available to communities separated by vast distances through mechanisms that operate according to principles entirely different from conventional communication networks. The creative process that generates these custom patterns taps into artistic energies and design inspirations that seem to flow from sources beyond individual imagination, as if the act of pattern creation connects designers to collective artistic consciousness that spans cultures, time periods, and dimensional boundaries. The symbols, colors, and compositional elements that emerge through this process often incorporate influences from traditions that individual creators had no conscious knowledge of studying or experiencing. The sharing mechanisms that distribute these patterns across island communities operate through networks that exist parallel to but separate from normal communication systems. Patterns created in isolation on remote islands appear in the design libraries of distant communities, with a synchronicity that suggests either technological systems of unprecedented sophistication or spiritual connections that transcend physical limitations entirely. The evolution of patterns as they move through different communities reveals collaborative artistic processes that transform individual creativity into collective cultural expression. Designs that begin as personal artistic statements undergo modifications and interpretations as they are adopted and adapted by different artists, creating evolutionary chains of creative development that produce artistic diversity while maintaining connection to original inspirational sources. Kix, the skunk whose wandering merchant lifestyle brings footwear fashion to communities that might otherwise lack access to such specialized commercial offerings, represents mysteries of motivation and logistics that challenge conventional understanding of business, economics, and personal life choices. His decision to dedicate his existence to traveling between islands with carefully curated selections of shoes and socks suggests purposes that extend beyond simple commercial ambition. The inventory that Kix carries during his travels reflects understanding of fashion trends and individual preferences that would require extensive market research and customer analysis. Yet he operates without visible support networks or information gathering systems that could provide such detailed knowledge. His ability to arrive at each island with selections that perfectly match the current needs and desires of local residents implies either supernatural intuition or access to information networks that transcend normal commercial intelligence gathering methods. The timing of Kix's visits to different communities follows patterns that suggest coordination with deeper rhythms of island life rather than simple commercial scheduling. His arrivals often coincide with moments when residents have developed new interests in fashion expression or when seasonal changes create demand for different types of footwear, as if his travel patterns respond to spiritual or emotional needs rather than purely economic factors. The relationships that Kix maintains with his customers transcend normal vendor-client interactions, developing into friendships that provide emotional as well as commercial value. His genuine interest in how his products enhance the lives and self-expression of island residents transforms shoe shopping into a form of personal consultation that addresses issues of identity, comfort, and aesthetic achievement simultaneously. The catalog ordering system that connects island residents to vast inventories of clothing and accessories represents one of the most mysterious aspects of island commerce, operating according to principles that seem to violate normal constraints of inventory management, shipping logistics, and economic sustainability. The catalogs that residents receive provide access to thousands of items that somehow remain available regardless of demand levels or order volume. The fulfillment process that delivers catalog orders operates with efficiency and reliability that exceeds what any conventional commercial system could achieve, providing next-day delivery to isolated island locations without visible transportation infrastructure or shipping networks. Items arrive precisely as ordered, properly sized for their intended recipients, and packaged with care that suggests personal attention rather than automated processing. The pricing structure that governs catalog commerce maintains remarkable consistency across different islands and time periods, suggesting either careful price regulation by unseen authorities or natural economic forces that somehow achieve perfect market balance without external intervention. Items remain affordable for residents operating on modest island incomes, while somehow providing sufficient profit margins to sustain the complex logistics required for universal catalog service. The infinite nature of catalog inventory raises profound questions about manufacturing sources and storage facilities that could supply such diverse and constantly available selections. The items that residents order represent every conceivable style, color, and size variation, yet they arrive without back orders, substitutions, or delays that would characterize normal commercial operations dealing with finite inventory systems. The mysterious economics of fashion in isolated island communities reveals itself through pricing structures and value systems that prioritize aesthetic achievement and personal expression over conventional market forces. Expensive designer items remain accessible to residents with modest incomes, while rare and unique pieces somehow maintain affordability despite their scarcity and desirability. The democratization of fashion that characterizes island commerce suggests economic models that operate according to principles of abundance rather than scarcity, cooperation rather than competition, and genuine care for individual happiness rather than mere profit maximization. These principles create commercial environments where fashion becomes a tool for community building and personal empowerment, rather than social stratification or economic exploitation. The seasonal cycles that influence fashion, availability, and popularity follow astronomical and meteorological patterns that demonstrate deep connections between clothing choices and cosmic rhythms. Certain styles and colors become available or desirable in coordination with solstices, equinoxes, and lunar phases, as if fashion trends respond to celestial influences rather than purely cultural or economic factors. The cultural significance of clothing in island communities extends beyond personal adornment to encompass community identity, artistic expression, and spiritual connection to forces that govern the natural world. Festival costumes, seasonal wardrobes, and ceremonial garments serve functions that transcend fashion to become forms of prayer, celebration, and communion with the deeper mysteries that underlie island existence. The therapeutic aspects of fashion in island life reveal themselves through the emotional and psychological benefits that residents derive from clothing choices that reflect their personalities, aspirations, and artistic sensibilities. The process of selecting, purchasing, and wearing clothes becomes a form of self-care that addresses needs for beauty, creativity, and self-expression that are essential to psychological well-being and community harmony. As we contemplate these profound mysteries surrounding the shopping networks that serve island communities, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more significant than simple commercial activity. These networks represent systems of exchange and relationship that prioritize human happiness and creative expression over conventional economic constraints, creating commercial environments that serve the deeper needs of both individuals and communities, while maintaining connection to artistic traditions and aesthetic values that span the entire breadth of cultural development and creative achievement. The wandering merchants who drift between islands like living manifestations of serendipity itself carry within their travels secrets that illuminate the deeper mysteries of how commerce, friendship, and destiny interweave across the vast archipelago of island communities. These enigmatic figures appear according to schedules that seem to follow cosmic rhythms rather than conventional business planning, their arrivals timed with supernatural precision to coincide with moments when their particular offerings will provide maximum benefit to the communities they visit. The mystery begins with Gulliver, that perpetually disoriented seagull whose impossible travel patterns and chronic memory problems suggest either the most remarkable case of navigational incompetence in maritime history or connection to forces that operate according to principles entirely different from normal cause and effect. His repeated appearances on island shores, invariably unconscious and separated from his communication device, create a pattern of apparent helplessness that masks deeper mysteries about his true nature and purpose. The geographical impossibility of Gulliver's travel routes becomes apparent to anyone who attempts to trace his journeys across the networks of islands he claims to visit. His stories of recent adventures span locations that would require months or years of conventional travel to reach, yet he speaks of them as if they were brief stops on a continuous voyage that somehow compresses vast distances into time frames that defy physical possibility. His casual references to landmarks and cultures from around the world suggest either extraordinary speed of travel or access to dimensional pathways that transcend normal spatial limitations. The communication device that Gulliver invariably loses during his beach landings represents technology far more sophisticated than anything that should be available to a simple merchant sailor. The components that residents collect and reassemble reveal engineering principles that blend conventional electronics with elements that seem to operate according to mystical rather than mechanical principles. The device's ability to maintain contact across impossible distances suggests communication networks that exist parallel to but separate from any conventional radio or satellite systems. The gifts that Gulliver provides in gratitude for assistance with his communication problems reveal access to cultural treasures and artistic artifacts from civilizations around the world, each piece carrying within its craftsmanship the authentic essence of its originating culture. These items appear in perfect condition, despite Gulliver's apparent rough treatment and chaotic travel experiences, suggesting either remarkably robust construction or protective forces that preserve their integrity regardless of external circumstances. The memory problems that consistently affect Gulliver's recollection of recent events present patterns that suggest selective rather than general amnesia. While he cannot remember his immediate circumstances or how he arrived at his current location, he retains detailed knowledge of distant cultures, complex navigational techniques, and intricate social customs from communities around the world. This selective memory loss implies either medical conditions that operate according to unprecedented patterns or deliberate mental conditioning that serves purposes beyond normal understanding. The timing of Gulliver's visits correlates with moments when island communities are ready to incorporate new cultural influences and artistic perspectives into their developing identities. His arrivals often coincide with seasonal celebrations, community festivals, or periods of cultural exploration that make his international gifts particularly meaningful and relevant to local residents. This synchronicity suggests either remarkable intuition about community needs or coordination by forces that understand the deeper rhythms of cultural development. Sahara, the mysterious camel, whose wandering lifestyle brings the transformative power of interior design to communities that might otherwise lack access to such sophisticated aesthetic offerings, represents mysteries of motivation and capability that challenge conventional understanding of both commerce and artistry. Her dedication to traveling between islands with heavy loads of carpets and wallpapers suggests purposes that extend far beyond simple commercial ambition to encompass elements of artistic mission and cultural service. The inventory that Sahara carries during her travels encompasses design traditions from every corner of the decorative arts world, representing aesthetic movements, cultural styles, and artistic periods that span the entire breadth of human creative achievement. Her rugs and wallpapers incorporate influences from Persian textile traditions, Japanese pattern design, European decorative movements, and indigenous artistic expressions from cultures around the world, creating collections that serve as portable museums of decorative art history. The dimensional properties of the rugs that Sahara provides present one of the most intriguing mysteries in island commerce, as these textile creations seem to possess spatial characteristics that extend beyond their apparent physical boundaries. Small rugs create the illusion of vast spaces when placed in modest rooms, while large carpets somehow adapt their presence to complement intimate spaces without overwhelming their proportions. These dimensional effects operate according to principles that blend optical illusion with what appears to be actual spatial manipulation. The transformative power of Sahara's wallpapers extends beyond mere visual enhancement to encompass psychological and emotional effects that influence the mood and behavior of residents who incorporate these designs into their living spaces. Certain patterns promote tranquility and contemplation, others inspire creativity and energy, while still others create feelings of connection to natural environments or cultural traditions that residents may have never directly experienced. These effects suggest design principles that operate on subliminal levels to create specific atmospheric and emotional responses. The mystery tickets that Sahara occasionally provides as special rewards represent access to design resources that exist beyond her normal inventory, connecting residents to aesthetic possibilities that transcend conventional decorating options. These mysterious selections often provide perfect solutions to specific decorating challenges that residents were facing, as if Sahara possesses intuitive understanding of individual aesthetic needs and access to design resources that respond to those needs in real time. Red, whose elaborate criminal network specializes in the art authentication mysteries that blur the lines between genuine cultural treasures and masterful reproductions, represents perhaps the most complex and morally ambiguous of all the traveling merchants. His activities raise profound questions about the nature of artistic value, the meaning of authenticity, and the ethics of commerce that deals in cultural heritage objects that should arguably belong to all humanity rather than individual collectors. The sophistication of the forgeries that Red occasionally offers reveals craftsmanship skills that equal or exceed those of the original artists, creating reproductions that demonstrate techniques and attention to detail, suggesting forgers who possess the same cultural knowledge and artistic abilities as the masters they were emulating. These forgeries represent not crude attempts to deceive but masterworks in their own right, raising philosophical questions about whether perfect reproductions might possess artistic value, independent of their relationship to original works. The authentication challenges that Red's inventory presents to potential customers operate according to criteria that extend beyond normal art historical analysis to encompass intuitive recognition of spiritual and emotional qualities that distinguish genuine artistic inspiration from mere technical competence. The differences between authentic pieces and forgeries often lie not in visible details but in subtle energy signatures that can be detected only through deep aesthetic sensitivity and cultural understanding. The supply networks that provide Red with both authentic artifacts and sophisticated forgeries suggest connections to organizations and individuals operating according to principles that transcend normal commercial relationships. The international scope of his operations requires coordination with collectors, museums, artists, and cultural institutions around the world, yet his activities leave no visible trace in conventional art market records or law enforcement databases. The moral complexity of Red's operations reflects broader questions about cultural heritage and the ownership of artistic treasures that were created by civilizations and artists who never intended their works to become commodities. In global art markets, his willingness to sell both authentic pieces and forgeries at similar prices suggests either cynical disregard for his customers or philosophical positions about artistic value that challenge conventional assumptions about authenticity and worth. The timing of merchant visits across different island communities reveals coordination patterns that suggest either sophisticated logistical planning or supernatural synchronization that ensures optimal distribution of goods and services. Throughout the archipelago, multiple merchants never appear simultaneously on the same island, yet their combined visits provide comprehensive coverage of all commercial needs without redundancy or gaps in service availability. The seasonal rhythms that influence merchant travel patterns correlate with astronomical events, weather cycles, and community celebration schedules in ways that demonstrate deep understanding of how these various factors affect island life and resident needs. Certain merchants appear more frequently during specific seasons, while others adjust their inventory selections to match the changing requirements created by weather patterns and cultural activities. The economic sustainability of merchant operations presents mysteries that challenge conventional business models, as these traveling vendors provide high-quality goods and services at reasonable prices, despite the enormous logistical costs that should be associated with their wandering lifestyles. Their ability to maintain operations without visible support networks or permanent business infrastructure suggests either revolutionary approaches to commerce or access to resources that operate according to non-conventional economic principles. The relationship between different merchants reveals professional courtesies and territorial agreements that suggest membership in organizations or networks that coordinate their activities according to principles that prioritize customer, service, and market coverage over competitive advantage. Their willingness to refer customers to each other and their careful avoidance of direct competition indicate professional ethics and cooperative relationships that transcend normal commercial considerations. The cultural impact of merchant activities extends far beyond simple commerce to encompass educational functions that introduce island residents to artistic traditions, cultural practices, and aesthetic sensibilities from around the world. Through their interactions with these traveling vendors, residents gain exposure to global cultural heritage and artistic achievement that transforms isolated island communities into cosmopolitan centers of international awareness and appreciation. The preservation of traditional craftsmanship techniques through merchant networks creates connections between contemporary island communities and ancient artistic traditions that might otherwise be lost to cultural change and modernization. The items that merchants provide carry within their construction methods and aesthetic principles the accumulated wisdom of generations of artists and craftspeople, maintaining living connections to cultural heritage that spans the entire breadth of human creative achievement. The mysterious navigation methods that allow merchants to travel between islands without visible maps, instruments, or communication systems suggest either extraordinary natural navigation abilities or access to guidance systems that operate according to principles beyond conventional understanding. Their ability to locate specific islands and arrive at optimal times for their visits implies knowledge networks that provide comprehensive information about community needs and circumstances. The psychological effects of merchant visits on island communities extend beyond simple commercial transactions to encompass social events that bring residents together around shared experiences of discovery and acquisition. The arrival of traveling merchants creates opportunities for community interaction, cultural discussion, and collective decision-making that strengthen social bonds while introducing new elements of variety and excitement into daily routines. As we contemplate these profound mysteries surrounding the traveling merchants who serve island communities, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more significant than simple commercial activity. These wandering vendors represent cultural ambassadors and artistic missionaries who connect isolated communities to the broader world of human achievement and creative expression, creating networks of exchange and relationship that transcend normal boundaries of space, time, and cultural difference while maintaining the peaceful rhythms and cooperative values that characterize island life at its most harmonious and fulfilling. Beneath the peaceful surface of every island community lies a network of tunnels and underground chambers that represents one of the most carefully hidden and systematically ignored mysteries in the entire archipelago. These subterranean passages stretch through the bedrock and soil with a precision and purpose that suggests engineering capabilities far beyond what any surface-dwelling civilization should logically possess. Yet their existence is acknowledged only through the most indirect references and carefully casual observations that deflect attention rather than encouraging investigation. The discovery of these underground networks typically begins with the innocent act of basement expansion, when residents seeking additional storage or living space find their excavation efforts revealing chambers and corridors that extend far beyond the modest foundations of their surface homes. The smoothness of these tunnel walls and the precision of their construction immediately distinguish them from natural cave systems or simple excavations, revealing engineering work that incorporates mathematical principles and architectural techniques of remarkable sophistication. The materials used in tunnel construction represent another layer of mystery that challenges conventional understanding of both construction techniques and resource availability. The walls display a seamless blend of natural stone and what appears to be manufactured composite materials that possess properties combining the durability of concrete with the flexibility of organic substances. These materials show no signs of aging or deterioration despite their apparent great antiquity, suggesting either revolutionary construction techniques or protective treatments that operate according to principles beyond current technological understanding. The ventilation systems that maintain air quality throughout these underground networks demonstrate engineering capabilities that exceed what most surface communities could achieve with their visible infrastructure. Fresh air flows through the tunnels with consistency that suggests sophisticated circulation systems, while humidity and temperature remain constant, regardless of seasonal changes on the surface. The absence of visible ventilation shafts or mechanical equipment implies either remarkably efficient passive systems or active air management that operates through mechanisms hidden from casual observation. At the center of this underground mystery stands Rossetti, the mole, whose official role as a reset surveillance center operator provides only the most superficial explanation for his intimate knowledge of tunnel systems that span entire islands and extend connections between distant communities. His ability to appear at any location with supernatural speed suggests not merely familiarity with underground passages, but command of transportation systems that transcend normal limitations of distance and travel time. The Reset Surveillance Center that serves as Rossetti's official workplace represents technology and organizational capabilities that seem entirely disproportionate to its stated function of monitoring and discouraging save file manipulation. The sophisticated monitoring equipment visible in his underground facility implies surveillance networks that extend far beyond simple game state observation to encompass comprehensive awareness of island activities, resident behavior patterns, and community development trends across multiple locations simultaneously. Rossetti's emotional investment in preventing reset activities reveals motivations that extend beyond simple procedural compliance to encompass genuine care for the continuity and integrity of island communities. His passionate arguments against abandoning established relationships and commitments suggest understanding of social and psychological consequences that extends far beyond the technical aspects of data preservation. His concern for the emotional impact of sudden departures on remaining residents demonstrates empathy and social awareness that transcends his official bureaucratic role. The underground office complex that houses the Reset surveillance operations contains facilities and equipment that suggest organizational structures far more extensive than what would be required for monitoring individual islands. Multiple workstations, comprehensive communication systems, and filing cabinets that stretch beyond visible boundaries imply bureaucratic hierarchies and administrative functions that encompass responsibilities extending across entire archipelago regions rather than individual community. Oversight. Don, Rossetti's colleague whose calmer temperament provides counterpoint to the more famous mole's emotional intensity, represents the methodical and systematic aspects of underground operations that require patience, precision, and attention to detail rather than passionate advocacy. His presence in the surveillance center suggests division of labor and specialization that indicates organizational structures designed to handle complex, multifaceted responsibilities rather than simple monitoring duties. The relationship between Don and Rossetti reveals professional partnerships that combine different temperaments and skill sets in ways that suggest careful personnel selection and training programs designed to create effective teams for handling the psychological as well as technical challenges. associated with their work. Their ability to coordinate activities and share responsibilities indicates communication systems and organizational protocols that operate with efficiency, suggesting extensive experience and well-developed procedures. The monitoring capabilities that the Reset Surveillance Center demonstrates through its awareness of individual resident activities and community developments imply information-gathering networks that extend far beyond what conventional surveillance systems could achieve. The real-time knowledge that Rossetti possesses about specific incidents, relationship conflicts, and personal decisions suggests either remarkably comprehensive monitoring technology or information networks that operate according to principles that transcend normal communication and observation methods. The basement expansion processes that residents undertake reveal construction techniques and capabilities that seem to violate normal limitations of individual project scope and technical expertise. The speed with which new basement levels appear and the professional quality of their construction suggest either access to construction services that operate according to principles entirely different from surface building projects, or individual abilities that exceed what residents should logically possess based on their apparent backgrounds and training. The impossible dimensions that characterize expanded basement spaces present spatial anomalies that challenge basic assumptions about property boundaries and structural engineering. Basement chambers that extend beyond the footprint of surface buildings. Multiple levels that descend far deeper than soil conditions should permit, and room configurations that seem to exist in spaces that overlap with neighboring properties suggest either revolutionary construction techniques or architectural principles that operate according to non-Euclidean geometry. The storage capabilities that basement expansions provide seem to transcend normal spatial limitations, accommodating quantities of possessions that exceed what the apparent room dimensions should logically contain. Residents report storage capacity that continues to expand according to need rather than reaching fixed limits determined by physical boundaries, suggesting either optical illusions that create false impressions of space utilization or actual dimensional manipulation that transcends conventional spatial constraints. The construction crews that appear to perform basement expansion work operate with efficiency and discretion that makes them nearly invisible despite the complexity and scope of their projects. Residents rarely observe the actual construction process, instead discovering completed expansions that appear overnight with quality and attention to detail that would normally require weeks or months of intensive labor. The absence of visible construction equipment, material deliveries, or worker presence suggests either remarkably efficient construction techniques or work crews that operate according to principles that transcend normal construction industry practices. The connection between basement systems and the larger underground network reveals itself through subtle architectural details that suggest integration with broader tunnel systems rather than isolated individual projects. Basement walls incorporate design elements that match the construction techniques visible in tunnel passages, while ventilation and utility systems connect to infrastructure networks that extend beyond individual property boundaries to serve community-wide functions. The historical evidence for ancient construction activities beneath island communities appears in archaeological traces that suggest civilizations and engineering projects that predate any recorded settlement activity. Stone foundations that incorporate architectural techniques from multiple historical periods. Tool marks that indicate construction equipment more sophisticated than what early settlers should have possessed. And material compositions that blend local resources with elements that appear to originate from distant geographical regions, all point to construction activities that span much longer time periods and involve much more extensive organizational capabilities than conventional island settlement. History would suggest the purposes served by underground tunnel networks extend beyond simple transportation and storage to encompass functions that remain deliberately obscured from surface community awareness. The strategic positioning of tunnel entrances, the routing of passages through geologically sensitive areas, and the integration of underground systems with surface infrastructure all suggest planning and coordination that serves multiple overlapping purposes rather than single specific functions. The maintenance and upkeep of underground systems require ongoing attention and resources that must be provided through organizations and funding sources that remain invisible to surface communities. The consistent quality and functionality of tunnel systems, despite their apparent great age, suggests either remarkably durable construction techniques or active maintenance programs that operate without visible personnel, equipment, or material supply chains. The security measures that protect underground networks from unauthorized access or accidental discovery demonstrate sophisticated awareness of the need to maintain operational secrecy while providing necessary services to surface communities. Access points are strategically concealed. Tunnel routing avoids areas where accidental discovery might occur, and information about underground activities is carefully controlled through protocols that ensure knowledge remains limited to those who require it for their specific roles and responsibilities. The communication systems that coordinate underground activities operate with efficiency that suggests either advanced technological capabilities or organizational structures that transcend normal limitations of distance and coordination. Complexity, the synchronization of activities across multiple tunnel systems, the coordination of construction and maintenance schedules, and the management of access permissions all require information, processing, and decision-making capabilities that exceed what most surface organizations could achieve with their visible resources and personnel. The relationship between underground networks and surface community development reveals planning and coordination that suggests comprehensive understanding of how subterranean infrastructure can support and enhance surface activities without creating conflicts or revealing sensitive information. The timing of basement expansion availability, the routing of utility systems, and the positioning of access points all demonstrate integration between underground and surface planning that requires extensive advanced coordination and shared decision-making processes. As we contemplate these profound mysteries surrounding the underground networks that support island communities, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more significant than simple infrastructure or transportation systems. These tunnels and chambers represent organizational capabilities and engineering achievements that suggest civilizations and institutions whose scope and sophistication exceed what surface communities reveal about their own origins and development, creating foundations for island life that extend far deeper into history and far broader across geographical regions than most residents realize or acknowledge. Above the peaceful communities of island life stretches a celestial canopy that reveals mysteries far more profound than simple astronomical phenomena, where the movements of stars and planets seem to respond to the rhythms of terrestrial existence in ways that suggest connections between cosmic forces and daily life that transcend conventional understanding of how celestial mechanics influence earthly affairs. The night sky that residents observe from their island homes displays patterns and behaviors that challenge fundamental assumptions about astronomy, geography, and the relationship between consciousness and the physical universe. The constellation patterns that appear with remarkable consistency across all island locations present the first indication that these communities exist within celestial circumstances that operate according to principles entirely different from conventional astronomical relationships. Every resident, regardless of their island's geographical position within the broader archipelago, observes identical star formations from their particular vantage point, suggesting that these communities exist within some form of cosmic bubble where astronomical phenomena are standardized rather than varying according to latitude, longitude, and seasonal progression as they would in normal earthly circumstances. The stars themselves display characteristics that extend beyond simple points of light in distant space to encompass qualities that suggest active participation in island life rather than passive illumination from cosmic distances. Certain constellations seem to pulse with subtle rhythms that correlate with community activities, seasonal celebrations, and individual emotional states, as if the celestial bodies respond to terrestrial consciousness, rather than following purely mechanical orbital patterns determined by gravitational forces and cosmic momentum. Celeste, the scholarly owl whose expertise in astronomical matters extends far beyond what conventional education could provide, serves as interpreter and guide to these celestial mysteries, through knowledge that seems to flow from sources beyond normal academic study. Her ability to predict meteor showers, explain constellation mythology, and provide star charts that remain accurate, regardless of seasonal changes, suggests access to astronomical databases that encompass not only scientific observation, but also spiritual and cultural significance of celestial events across multiple civilizations and time periods. The timing of Celeste's appearances on various islands correlates with astronomical events in ways that suggest either supernatural intuition about cosmic rhythms or direct communication with celestial forces that inform her about optimal moments for sharing astronomical wisdom. Her visits typically coincide with meteor showers, seasonal transitions, and lunar phases that create ideal conditions for stargazing and contemplation, as if her travel schedule responds to cosmic timing rather than conventional appointment-making processes. The DIY recipes that Celeste provides for crafting star-themed furniture and decorations represent more than simple instructions for creating aesthetic objects. They are formulas for capturing and concentrating celestial energies within physical forms that continue to radiate cosmic influence long after their initial creation. The furniture crafted from these patterns seems to carry within its structure actual fragments of starlight, creating ambient effects that promote tranquility, inspiration, and connection to forces that transcend normal earthly experience. Meteor showers that illuminate island skies occur with frequency and predictability that defies conventional astronomical explanation, appearing not according to orbital mechanics and debris field intersections, but according to spiritual and emotional needs of island communities that require inspiration, wonder, and connection to cosmic beauty. These celestial displays seem to respond to collective community consciousness, arriving at moments when residents most need reminders of the larger mysteries that surround their peaceful daily routines. The shooting stars that streak across these manufactured night shows carry within their brief luminous passages, wishes, and dreams that somehow manifest as tangible benefits for those who take time to observe and appreciate their celestial performance. The star fragments that appear the following morning represent physical manifestations of cosmic blessings, crystalline objects that contain actual essence of stellar energy, rather than simple meteoritic debris that happens to fall conveniently within easy collection range. The wishing mechanics that operate during meteor shower events suggest connections between individual consciousness and cosmic forces that transcend normal cause and effect relationships, allowing personal desires and aspirations to influence celestial activities through means that operate according to spiritual rather than physical principles. The fulfillment of wishes made upon shooting stars occurs through synchronicities and opportunities that seem to emerge naturally from the flow of island life, rather than through obvious magical intervention. The Zodiac Furniture series, that residents can craft using celestial materials, incorporates astronomical symbolism and astrological significance that suggests cultural knowledge spanning multiple civilizations and time periods, blending Western astrological traditions with Eastern philosophical systems and indigenous spiritual practices, in ways that create comprehensive representations of how different cultures have understood the relationship between celestial patterns and human destiny. The timing mechanisms that determine when specific zodiac items become available for crafting correlate with actual astronomical events and astrological transitions in ways that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of how celestial timing influences terrestrial activities. The availability of Pisces-themed items during the constellation's prominence, Leo furniture during midsummer celebrations, and Scorpio decorations during autumn transformations all suggest coordination between crafting opportunities and cosmic rhythms that operate on levels beyond simple seasonal decoration preferences. Weather patterns that characterize island climate systems display responsiveness to community activities and individual emotional states that suggests atmospheric conditions reflect consciousness rather than simply following meteorological principles determined by geographical location, seasonal progression, and natural weather system development. Rain often arrives during moments of sadness or contemplation, while sunshine tends to accompany celebrations and community gatherings, creating correlations that exceed what statistical analysis would attribute to coincidental timing. The aurora phenomena that occasionally illuminate northern island skies represent atmospheric displays that should not occur at the latitudes where these communities exist, yet they appear with regularity that suggests either geographical displacement of normal auroral zones or generation of similar effects through mechanisms that transcend conventional solar-wind interaction with planetary magnetic fields. These luminous curtains of colored light seem to dance in response to music, laughter, and community celebrations, rather than following purely electromagnetic patterns. The lunar cycles that govern various island activities operate according to schedules that demonstrate perfect synchronization across all communities, despite their geographical distribution, across regions that should experience different lunar timing and tidal influences. The simultaneous full moon celebrations, new moon reflection periods, and lunar eclipse observations that occur across the entire archipelago suggest either remarkable geographical proximity or existence within temporal frameworks that standardize celestial timing regardless of individual island locations. The influence of moon phases on villager behavior patterns reveals correlations between lunar cycles and social activities that extend beyond simple cultural associations to encompass actual psychological and emotional effects that vary according to celestial timing. Villagers display increased creativity during waxing moon periods, deeper contemplation during new moon phases, and heightened social activity during full moon celebrations, suggesting lunar influences that operate through mechanisms more direct than cultural conditioning or psychological suggestion. Seasonal weather transitions that characterize island climate patterns follow astronomical markers, with precision that demonstrates coordination between celestial mechanics and atmospheric systems, in ways that create perfect timing for community celebrations, agricultural activities, and personal reflection periods. The arrival of spring coincides exactly with vernal equinox timing, while winter transitions occur with autumnal equinox precision, suggesting climate systems that respond to astronomical events rather than gradually shifting according to solar heating patterns and atmospheric circulation changes. The relationship between celestial events and community celebrations reveals cultural traditions that seem to emerge spontaneously from astronomical observation, rather than being imposed through external cultural transmission or historical precedent. Island festivals and seasonal observances develop naturally around solstices, equinoxes, and lunar phases in ways that suggest communities instinctively recognize and respond to cosmic rhythms that influence their collective consciousness and social activities. The prophetic aspects of astronomical observation become apparent through the accuracy with which celestial events predict community developments, individual life changes, and broader cultural shifts that affect island civilization. Residents who pay careful attention to star patterns, lunar cycles, and meteor shower timing often discover correlations between celestial observations and subsequent life events that suggest either remarkable pattern recognition abilities or actual causal relationships between cosmic activities, terrestrial outcomes. The meditation and contemplation practices that develop around astronomical observation create spiritual experiences that connect individual consciousness to cosmic awareness through means that transcend simple aesthetic appreciation or intellectual curiosity. Residents who spend regular time observing night skies report heightened intuition, increased creativity, and deeper understanding of their place within larger patterns of existence that encompass both personal development and community harmony. The architectural orientations that characterize island building placement demonstrate unconscious recognition of astronomical alignments that optimize solar exposure, lunar observation opportunities, and stellar visibility in ways that suggest either inherited cultural knowledge about cosmic relationships or intuitive understanding of how building placement can enhance connection to celestial influences. Homes and community structures naturally align with cardinal directions, seasonal sun paths, and optimal stargazing orientations without conscious planning or deliberate astronomical calculation. The agricultural timing that governs crop planting, harvesting, and seasonal food preparation follows lunar and stellar cycles with precision that exceeds what conventional farming knowledge would provide, yet produces optimal results that suggest actual causal relationships between celestial timing and biological processes. The enhanced growth rates, improved flavor profiles, and extended storage life that characterize crops planted and harvested according to astronomical timing demonstrate practical benefits that validate traditional agricultural astrology through empirical results. The artistic inspiration that residents derive from celestial observation manifests in creative works that incorporate cosmic themes, astronomical symbolism, and celestial color palettes in ways that suggest direct transmission of cosmic beauty into artistic expression, rather than simple intellectual appreciation of astronomical phenomena. Paintings, musical compositions, and decorative designs that emerge from stargazing experiences carry within their aesthetic structures actual fragments of celestial harmony that continue to radiate cosmic influence long after their initial creation. As we contemplate these profound mysteries surrounding the celestial connections that illuminate island life, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more significant than simple astronomical observation or cultural appreciation of natural beauty. These cosmic relationships represent direct participation in universal rhythms and celestial harmonies that connect island communities to forces of creation, inspiration, and spiritual development that span the entire breadth of cosmic existence, creating living connections between terrestrial consciousness and celestial intelligence that transform daily life into ongoing communion with the deepest mysteries of existence itself. At the heart of all these interconnected mysteries lies the ultimate enigma that encompasses and transcends every other puzzle we have explored. The fundamental question of how these islands come to exist in the first place, who determines which souls will be invited to experience their particular form of paradise, and what cosmic intelligence orchestrates the countless synchronicities that transform isolated patches of land into thriving communities where every element seems perfectly designed to promote happiness, growth, and spiritual fulfillment. The island selection process represents perhaps the most carefully concealed mystery in the entire archipelago, operating according to criteria that extend far beyond conventional real estate evaluation, economic feasibility studies, or random geographical distribution. The individuals who find themselves presented with opportunities to develop new island communities report experiences that suggest destiny rather than chance, as if unseen forces had been observing their lives, understanding their deepest needs, and preparing perfect environments where their particular souls could flourish in ways that conventional living situations had never allowed. The timing of these invitations correlates with moments of personal transition, spiritual seeking, and unconscious readiness for transformation that suggest either remarkable psychological insight on the part of whoever orchestrates these opportunities, or access to information about individual consciousness that transcends normal human observation capabilities. People receive island development offers precisely when their current life circumstances have become insufficient to support their continued growth, as if cosmic intelligence recognizes when souls require new environments to continue their evolutionary journey. The deserted islands that become available for development possess characteristics that seem too perfectly suited to their intended inhabitants to be products of natural geological processes or random geographical distribution. Each location offers the exact combination of natural resources, aesthetic beauty, geographical features, and developmental potential that matches the temperament, interests, and aspirations of the individual who will transform it into a thriving community, suggesting selection processes that operate with comprehensive understanding of both environmental characteristics and human psychology. The infinite nature of available island locations presents logistical mysteries that challenge conventional understanding of geographical reality and territorial boundaries. Despite the continuous development of new communities by countless individuals, suitable locations never become scarce, suggesting either geographical regions of unprecedented size and diversity or existence within dimensional frameworks where physical space expands according to need rather than operating according to finite territorial constraints that characterize normal, earthly real estate markets. The isolation that characterizes every island community serves purposes that extend beyond simple, peaceful living to encompass psychological and spiritual conditions necessary for personal transformation and community development that might be impossible within conventional social environments. This isolation protects developing communities from external pressures, cultural contamination, and social expectations that could interfere with the organic evolution of unique community identities and individual self-discovery processes that island life seems specifically designed to promote. Yet, despite their isolation, all islands share common elements that suggest coordination by intelligence that understands optimal conditions for human happiness and community harmony. The availability of identical services similar infrastructure development patterns, and standardized approaches to commerce and social organization all indicate planning that transcends individual community development to encompass archipelago-wide systems designed to ensure consistent quality of life, regardless of specific island characteristics or individual resident preferences. The player arrival phenomenon represents the most mysterious aspect of island selection, as these individuals seem to possess capabilities and perspectives that exceed what their apparent backgrounds should provide. New island developers demonstrate immediate competence in areas ranging from infrastructure development to community leadership to resource management, suggesting either remarkably comprehensive preparation or access to knowledge and abilities that transcend conventional education and experience. The amnesia that sometimes affects island arrivals creates blank slates that allow for complete personal reinvention without the psychological baggage that normally constrains individual transformation. These memory gaps seem selectively beneficial, removing obstacles to growth and happiness while preserving essential capabilities and personality characteristics that contribute to successful community development, suggesting either remarkably sophisticated psychological intervention or natural processes that automatically optimize mental states for island living. The relationship between individual consciousness and island manifestation becomes apparent through the responsiveness of environmental conditions to resident emotions, desires, and spiritual states. Weather patterns, resource availability, community events, and even architectural developments seem to respond to collective consciousness in ways that suggest islands exist as extensions of their inhabitants' inner worlds, rather than independent geographical entities that simply happen to support human communities. The cyclical nature of island development follows patterns that mirror personal growth cycles, spiritual evolution stages, and community maturation processes in ways that suggest these locations serve as laboratories for consciousness development rather than simple residential environments. The progression from initial settlement through infrastructure development to cultural flowering and eventual transcendence reflects universal patterns of growth that operate on multiple levels simultaneously, encompassing individual, community, and cosmic development themes. The departure mechanisms that eventually guide some residents toward new adventures operate with timing that suggests recognition of when individuals have completed their particular island learning experiences and become ready for different types of growth opportunities. These transitions occur naturally and voluntarily, without pressure or dissatisfaction, indicating understanding of developmental cycles that transcend normal residential decision-making processes to encompass spiritual and evolutionary considerations. The preservation of abandoned islands presents mysteries about what happens to communities when their development cycles conclude and their primary inhabitants move on to other experiences. These locations do not simply cease to exist, but rather enter states of suspended animation, where they await possible future utilization or serve purposes that remain hidden from normal observation, suggesting functions within larger systems that encompass multiple dimensions of existence and service. The repetition of patterns across different islands, despite infinite possibilities for variation, reveals underlying templates and archetypal structures that seem designed to ensure optimal conditions for human development, regardless of individual preferences or random circumstance variations. The appearance of similar community institutions, comparable social dynamics, and equivalent opportunities for growth and fulfillment across diverse island environments suggests planning that prioritizes psychological and spiritual needs over surface variety or apparent uniqueness. The economic systems that sustain island communities operate according to principles that transcend normal scarcity-based models to encompass abundance-oriented approaches that ensure universal prosperity without competition, exploitation, or inequality. These economic miracles suggest either access to unlimited resources or fundamentally different relationships to material existence that transcend conventional assumptions about production, distribution, and consumption limitations that characterize most human economic systems. The question of whether islands exist as physical locations or as states of consciousness becomes increasingly relevant as one observes how these communities respond to individual and collective awareness rather than operating according to purely material principles. The fluidity of time, the responsiveness of environment to consciousness, and the coordination of events according to spiritual rather than mechanical timing all suggest existence within frameworks that blend material and mental reality in ways that challenge conventional assumptions about the nature of physical existence. The relationship between island paradise and external world remains deliberately obscured, with minimal references to outside civilization and carefully maintained focus on internal community development that could suggest either genuine geographical isolation or psychological frameworks designed to create complete immersion in alternative reality experiences that serve therapeutic, educational, or spiritual development purposes rather than simple residential accommodation. The ultimate purpose of island existence reveals itself through the cumulative effects of sustained community participation on individual consciousness, social relationships, and spiritual development. Residents who engage fully with island life report increased happiness, enhanced creativity, deeper community connections, and expanded awareness of their own capabilities and potential, suggesting that these environments serve as optimized conditions for human flourishing rather than simple alternatives to conventional living situations. The recurring themes that characterize island life across all communities include cooperation over competition, sufficiency over accumulation, present moment awareness over future anxiety, and genuine relationship over superficial social interaction, creating cultural environments that seem designed to promote psychological health and spiritual development through lived experience, rather than theoretical instruction or imposed behavioral modification programs. As we contemplate these ultimate mysteries that encompass all aspects of island existence, we begin to understand that we are witnessing something far more profound than unusual communities or alternative lifestyle experiments. These islands represent manifestations of humanity's deepest aspirations for peaceful coexistence, sustainable abundance, meaningful work, and spiritual fulfillment, creating lived experiences of paradise that demonstrate the possibility of transforming human civilization according to principles of love, wisdom, and cosmic harmony that transcend the limitations and conflicts that characterize conventional social organization, offering hope that such transformation remains possible for broader human society as consciousness evolves toward recognition of our fundamental interconnectedness and shared destiny within the larger cosmos. And so we reach the end of our journey through the endless mysteries of island life. Though like the gentle cycles of Animal Crossing itself, every ending is simply another beginning wrapped in the soft promise of tomorrow's discoveries. These enigmas we have explored together, from Tom Nook's shadowy empire that spans dimensions to the cosmic forces that synchronize meteor showers with the deepest longings of island hearts, remind us that wonder lives not in the pen answering, but in the asking, not in the solving, but in the contemplating of questions that lead us ever deeper into appreciation for the beautiful complexity that underlies even the most peaceful corners of existence. The islands keep their secrets not from malice but from wisdom, understanding that some mysteries are more nourishing when glimpsed through peripheral vision than when dragged into the harsh light of complete explanation. Like the gentle moles, who monitor reset activities from their underground chambers, or the traveling merchants who appear precisely when their particular gifts will bring the most joy. These mysteries serve us best when they remain just beyond the edge of complete understanding, allowing space for imagination and wonder to flourish in the gaps between what we know and what we sense must be true. Tom Nook's true nature as something approaching a benevolent deity of community development. Blather's connection to archaeological knowledge that spans geological ages, the supernatural villagers whose very existence bridges realms of being we can barely imagine, the temporal anomalies that allow time itself to bend according to the needs of consciousness rather than the demands of clocks. All these wonders remind us that paradise is not a destination, but a way of seeing, not a place we arrive at, but a quality of attention we bring to wherever we happen to find ourselves. As you drift towards sleep, let yourself imagine your own island paradise, where every mystery is a friend waiting to be discovered, rather than a problem-demanding solution, where every question leads to 10 more delightful puzzles that spiral ever deeper into appreciation for the profound strangeness and unexpected grace that characterizes existence at its most luminous and alive. Picture yourself walking along beaches where star fragments wash ashore like crystallized wishes, through underground tunnels that connect not just distant locations but different states of being, past shops where the true currency is kindness, and the exchange rate between bells and happiness remains eternally favorable to joy. Rest now in the knowledge that somewhere, in dimensions that exist parallel to but separate from our ordinary waking consciousness, islands of perfect peace await all who seek them, with hearts open to wonder and minds willing to embrace mysteries that transform the mundane into the magical, through nothing more than patient attention and gentle curiosity. The mystery continues like morning mist that lifts to reveal landscapes more beautiful than dreams. The seasons turn with cosmic precision that coordinates celestial timing with terrestrial needs, and the simple joys of island life endure forever in realms where love and wisdom create the fundamental laws that govern all existence, ensuring that every ending becomes a new beginning, and every question opens doorways to even deeper and more beautiful mysteries that await our discovery.